Father Knows Best portrayed the image of a perfect American family with warm smiles and timeless values during the 1950s. But behind the dazzling glow of the Anderson family were the real-life tragic stories of its actors who had to battle depression, addiction, and even unexpected accidents. Let's explore the truth and pay tribute to the legacies they left behind. Let's get started. Robert Young as Jim Anderson. Robert George Young was born on February 22, 1907, in Chicago, the son of an Irish immigrant father and an American mother. In 1954, when he was 47 years old, he took on the role of Jim Anderson, the model father in Father Knows Best, a figure admired and trusted by millions of viewers as the ideal embodiment of the American family. Yet behind that polished exterior, Robert Young carried with him psychological shadows few could have imagined. Throughout the peak years of his career, from H.M. Pullum, Esquire, 1941, to the television triumph of Marcus Welby, M.D., 1969 to 1976, Young struggled with severe depression and alcoholism. The rising despair even drove him to sedatives, and at one point he proposed to his wife, Elizabeth, that they sign a suicide pact in the 1960s, but she firmly refused. Their marriage was fractured by emotional distance, mixed with rumors of infidelity, yet Elizabeth still stayed by his side for 61 years until her passing in 1994. These mental crises turned Young into an unpredictable person right on set, sometimes throwing the crew into turmoil. However, the studios still tried to cover up the truth to maintain the public image of the perfect father. Later on, he stood up to advocate for the rights of mental health patients, contributing to pushing forward the Illinois 708 tax law to support community mental health services. On July 21, 1998, Robert Young passed away from respiratory failure at his home in Westlake Village, California, at the age of 91, leaving behind a net worth of around $5 million USD and being honored with 3 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Jane Wyatt as Margaret Anderson. Jane Waddington. Wyatt was born on August 12, 1910 in New Jersey and grew up in an intellectually distinguished family in Manhattan. In 1954, when she was 44 years old, she stepped into the role of Margaret Anderson in the series Father Knows Best, transforming into the model and gentle mother loved by millions of viewers. The image of Margaret became a symbol of sacrifice and forgiveness, helping Wyatt win 3 prestigious Emmy Awards in a row and solidifying her reputation in the world of American television. However, Wyatt's real life was colored by stress and heavy pressures. During the height of her career, she publicly opposed the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, and its communist witch hunt policies, a political stance that landed her on an informal blacklist, causing boycotts and the loss of numerous contracts, which led to a financial crisis. These difficult years forced Wyatt to retreat to the New York stage, where she appeared in The Autumn Garden alongside Frederick March to maintain her passion for acting, while quietly struggling to endure public pressure and the wounds to her honor. Her seemingly ideal marriage to Edgar Bethune-Ward in reality also contained many storms. Political and religious disagreements created cold and distant periods between them, even though on the surface they maintained the image of a close-knit family. Amid these insecurities, Wyatt continued to demonstrate her talent through the role of Amanda Grayson, Spock's mother in the Star Trek episode Journey to Babel, 1967, and later returned in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, 1986, as a quiet affirmation of her professional value despite obstacles and scandal. In her later years, Jane Wyatt suffered a mild stroke in the 1990s, but recovered well and gradually withdrew from all spotlights, living peacefully with her children and grandchildren. On October 20, 2006, she passed away peacefully in Bel Air, California, at the age of 96, leaving behind a net worth of around $4 million USD, thanks to television and film contracts, as well as investments from her family. Vivi Janiss as Myrtle Davis. Vivi Janiss, real name Vivian Audrey Jamison, was born on May 29, 1911 in Omaha, Nebraska, and was 43 years old when she took on the role of Myrtle Davis, the talkative yet friendly neighbor in Father Knows Best, 1954. Her character carried a charming, humorous vibe that stayed in viewers' hearts. Yet the real life of Vivi Janiss was filled with countless insecurities, a dark side no one suspected behind those on-screen smiles. After her first marriage to Robert Cummings ended, Janiss remarried actor John Larch, but this relationship was far from peaceful. There were rumors of harsh arguments, even hints of domestic violence, though no clear evidence ever surfaced. Jealousy and insecurity clung to Janiss in her career, making her often refuse to work with younger female co-stars for fear of losing the spotlight, leading to prolonged conflicts. While working on The Phantom from 10,000 Leagues, 1955, Janiss continued to complain about her role and was sidelined, deepening the wounds to her pride. The radio career that had once brought Janiss fame gradually faded as the industry favored younger performers, leaving her adrift in loneliness and the shame of being forgotten. Even on the set of Father Knows Best, Janiss had once loudly threatened to quit because she was dissatisfied with her screen time, creating considerable tension with the production team and making her image grow increasingly dim in the public eye. On September 7, 1988, Vivi Janiss passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 77, closing a life full of turbulence, struggles, and loss. Her net worth at the time of her death was only about $500,000 USD, accumulated from her radio, television, and a handful of supporting stage roles, leaving behind a legacy that was both regretful and sorrowful. Robert Foulk as Ed Davis. Robert C. Foulk, born on May 5, 1908 in Omaha, Nebraska, was 46 years old when he appeared in Father Knows Best, 1954, as Ed Davis, a friendly and funny friend of the Anderson family. On screen, Ed Davis brought a sense of humor and closeness, but in real life, Robert Foulk carried a darker, more turbulent side. His commanding presence and tall stature earned him rumors of being a bully to supporting actors and crew members, to the point he was nicknamed the sheriff behind the scenes. His first marriage to actress Alice Frost was considered quite open, and there were rumors that both had extramarital affairs throughout the 1950s, creating a tense family atmosphere. While working on The Left-Handed Gun, 1958, Foulk was also criticized for his arrogant and hot-tempered attitude, damaging relationships with the crew. His second marriage to Barbara Slater later proved more stable, but his long-standing gambling addiction continued to haunt him, forcing Foulk to accept scattered supporting roles on television just to fight off financial troubles. That gambling addiction pushed Foulk to the brink of bankruptcy by the late 1960s, making him give up many big opportunities and settle for small roles in Green Acres or Bonanza merely to pay off debts. His rigid, uncompromising personality made him increasingly out of place in a rapidly changing Hollywood, dragging his career into ongoing hardship until the end of his life. On February 25, 1989, Robert Foulk died in Los Angeles due to heart disease at the age of 80, leaving behind a net worth of around $300,000 USD, with his gambling habit having eroded nearly all the fruits of his lifelong work. Harry Hickox as Verl Carson. Harry Milton Hickox was born on October 22, 1910 in Big Spring, Texas, and when he was 44 years old, he joined Father Knows Best, 1955, in the role of Verl Carson, the dependable, calm neighbor who was always willing to help the Anderson family. On screen, audiences loved him for his gentle and sincere appearance. But in real life, Hickox led a chaotic personal life, far removed from the warm image he portrayed. Throughout his career, Hickox dreamed of conquering Broadway, but faced bitter failure, leaving him resentful and chronically dissatisfied. By the 1960s, he faced accusations of embezzlement while managing a community theater group, and although never formally convicted, the scandal severely damaged his reputation. While working on The Music Man, 1962, His unpredictable temper combined with a drinking problem led to fiery arguments with the director, sometimes even getting him kicked out of rehearsals for aggressive behavior, spreading a bad reputation in the industry. His marriage to Mary Louise McConnell, lasting 50 years, was also far from peaceful. Public separations, along with rumors that he had an affair with a young jazz singer, made Hickox appear unfaithful and emotionally careless. He had once promised to leave his wife for the new woman, but ultimately never followed through, further fracturing the family atmosphere. When he appeared in The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, 1966, Hickox still had to push aside his personal scandals to finish the role, but the wounds to his honor never truly healed. On June 3, 1994, Harry Hickox died in Los Angeles from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease at the age of 83. His net worth at the time of his death was only about $200,000 USD, mostly drained by legal troubles and an undisciplined lifestyle. Sam Flint as Mr. Armstead. Sam Flint, real name Samuel A. Etheridge, was born on October 19, 1882, in Gwinnett County, Georgia, and was 74 years old when he took on the role of Mr. Armstead, a polite gentleman in Father Knows Best, 1956, creating a solid impression of dignity and kindness. Audiences remember him as a symbol of seriousness and integrity on screen. However, Flint's real-life existence exposed a harsh reality, full of contradictions and quiet loneliness. In the 1930s, Flint was blacklisted by some theater companies for insulting colleagues after he carelessly referred to a lead actress as a cold cream jar, which seriously damaged his professional reputation. His controlling personality and harsh tone gradually pushed Flint away from friends and collaborators, forcing him to cling to supporting roles like in It's a Wonderful Life, 1946, just to maintain his name. His marriage to Ella Etheridge also went through many storms, as Flint was notorious for imposing the rule of no roles unless his wife could accompany him, leading to conflict and increasing isolation in the artist community. His later years became even heavier when rumors said Flint had cut off contact with his children after a fierce argument, even disinheriting one child from his will, creating a psychological wound that could not heal. He nearly lost all close friends, left only with suspicion and small supporting parts, like his final appearance in Head, 1968, with the Monkees, a weak effort to hold on to old fame. On October 17, 1980, Flint died in Los Angeles just 2 days before his 98th birthday, from undisclosed causes. His net worth at the time was estimated at about $100,000 USD, reflecting a struggling career and a closed-off lifestyle. William Fawcett as Mr. Trumbull. William Fawcett Thompson, born on September 8, 1894 in Georgia, was 60 years old when he appeared in Father Knows Best, 1954, as Mr. Trumbull, a strange but kind-hearted character who gave audiences gentle, affectionate moments. On screen, Fawcett was seen as a wise, good-natured person, but in real life, he had a moody and complex temperament that made many wary. Even though he held a doctorate and was respectfully called Doc, Fawcett had once been suspended from teaching over accusations of inappropriate conduct with students, a scandal never fully clarified, but which was temporarily quieted because he was a decorated veteran awarded the Legion of Honor. When working on Seminole Uprising, 1955, and the Comancheros, 1961, Fawcett continued to carry a revolver with him out of constant fear of being harmed, and had once harshly accused a stagehand of sabotaging his belongings, creating such a tense atmosphere that many colleagues avoided him. His paranoia and suspicion also spread into his personal life, gradually alienating him from his children, with rumors claiming he had not contacted family for over 10 years before he fell ill. Although he appeared in hundreds of films and became a familiar face with the role of Pete Wilkie in Fury, Fawcett never truly had a reliable circle of friends, living quietly and always in a state of vigilance. On January 25, 1974, William Fawcett passed away from heart disease in Sherman Oaks, California, at the age of 79. His net worth at that time was only about $150,000 USD. He was buried at Roselawn Cemetery in Minnesota, next to a veteran's memorial marker. Eleanor Audley as bookstacker. Eleanor Audley, real name Eleanor Zellman, was born on November 19, 1905 in Newark, New Jersey, and when she was 51 years old, she joined Father Knows Best, 1956, in the role of bookstacker, a minor character appearing briefly, but still leaving an impression thanks to a confident, proper demeanor. On screen, Audley always radiated authority and refinement, but in real life, she carried many deep-seated secrets, in stark contrast to the calm that the public once admired. Audley was famous for her unique voice, having voiced Lady Tremaine in Cinderella, 1950, and Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty, 1959, yet her strict, perfectionist personality earned her a reputation for being difficult in the voice-acting world. There was once an accusation that she had insulted a young actress over a small pronunciation mistake, making the recording studio atmosphere suffocatingly tense. In the late 1960s, she was even removed from a major voice project because of being hard to work with, stalling her career and driving Audley into loneliness, cut off from colleagues. Her private life was also filled with controversy since she never married, lived reclusively, and rumors swirled of a secret relationship with a female costume designer, something still hidden because of the social prejudices of the time. This isolation and suspicion gradually turned Audley into a hermit, rarely leaving her house in the final decade of her life, despite the fame she had once built with Disney. On November 25, 1991, Eleanor Audley died from respiratory failure in Los Angeles at the age of 86, closing a journey full of ups and downs with a net worth estimated at around $1 million USD, mostly from her iconic voice roles. Her legacy was both dazzling and heavy with loneliness. Roger Smith as Doyle Hobbs. Roger Laverne Smith was born on December 18, 1932, in Southgate, California, and was 22 years old when he appeared in Father Knows Best, 1956, as Doyle Hobbs, a young, elegant, and ambitious man who left an impression thanks to his handsome looks and confident demeanor. The role was brief, but marked the beginning of a promising journey for Smith in American television. Yet behind that charming smile lay a path full of storms and harsh challenges. Smith quickly rose to fame with the role of Jeff Spencer in 77 Sunset Strip, but by the early 1960s, a blood clot in his brain nearly took his life, leaving long-term consequences that caused his health to deteriorate and his mental state to become unstable. While filming Mr. Roberts, 1965 to 1966, Smith still had to fight depression and mood swings, which created considerable tension with producers. Later, when he stepped back to manage the career of his wife, movie star Anne Margaret, Smith was rumored to be overly controlling of her, leading to lingering conflicts that the public never fully understood. In the late 1970s, Smith virtually disappeared from Hollywood, living so quietly that rumors spread he had secretly undergone rehab, prompting him to retreat behind the scenes, quietly supporting Anne Margaret. On June 4, 2017, Roger Smith passed away in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles, due to complications of myasthenia gravis at the age of 84. His net worth at that time was around $2 million USD, accumulated from both his acting career and his management work. Claudia Bryar as Miss Woodruff. Claudia Bryar, real name Hortense Risley, was born on May 18, 1918 in Oklahoma, and was 38 years old when she appeared in Father Knows Best, 1956, as Miss Woodruff, a strict yet well-meaning woman who made an impression thanks to her dignified and determined presence. This role was only a small note in Bryar's television career, but it still captured the mature, steady acting style she pursued her entire life. Born into a family with a congressman father and later marrying actor Paul Bryar, Claudia carried the fear of being overshadowed by the famous people around her. That insecurity caused her to clash with producers multiple times over being pigeonholed into supporting roles. Even when acting in Psycho 2, 1983, Bryar still feared she would be quickly forgotten by audiences. Her cold, reserved personality further distanced her from colleagues, and her relationship with her son, musician Paul Barrere, was also strained because she could not accept his free-spirited bohemian lifestyle. In her later years, Bryar fell into a state of paranoia, believing that former colleagues were conspiring to keep her off the screen. Finally, on June 16, 2011, Claudia Bryar passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 93. She left behind a net worth of about $200,000 USD, mainly from supporting roles and a small amount of savings. Ludwig Stossel as Hans. Ludwig Stossel was born on February 12, 1883, in Austria, and was 71 years old when he joined Father Knows Best, 1956, as Hans, a calm, intelligent European immigrant character filled with sad memories of war. On screen, Hans appeared as a symbol of wisdom and optimism, but behind that gentlemanly appearance, Stossel had to bear countless psychological traumas after fleeing the Nazis, having been imprisoned several times in Austria before luckily escaping to America. In his early Hollywood years, Stossel fell into poverty, clinging to small supporting roles despite once having a solid position on the Berlin stage. Even after gaining fame through Casablanca, 1942, he still carried deep insecurities, to the point colleagues gossiped that he suffered from paranoia, always locking his dressing room and being wary of those around him. Although he later took part in Pride of the Yankees, 1942, and Call Me Madam, 1953, Stossel could never shake the fear of betrayal, which made his temperament erratic, sometimes bursting out with angry German curses on set. Toward the end of his life, Stossel withdrew even more, refusing interviews because he believed the press was plotting to distort his past, despite audiences still remembering his catchy slogan in wine commercials, "That little old winemaker me." This isolation cost him friendships, and people said he lived very lonely in his Beverly Hills house, only talking to a few close relatives. On January 29, 1973, Ludwig Stossel died from natural causes related to old age at the age of 89, just 2 weeks before his 90th birthday. His remains were cremated at Hollywood Forever and sent back to Vienna, ending a courageous life. His net worth at that time was about $100,000 USD, a modest sum considering his long but bumpy contributions in America. Henry Kulky as Max. Henry Kulky was born on August 11, 1911, in New York, and joined Father Knows Best in 1955 when he was 43 years old, playing Max, a strong, somewhat clumsy, but sincere character. Associated with the image of the fearsome wrestler Bomber Kulkovich, Kulky brought to the screen an endearing sense of humor, yet his real life was full of instability and drama. After the wrestling spotlight in South America with impressive achievements, Kulky struggled to find a foothold in Hollywood, and whenever he was not offered roles celebrating his physical strength, he often lost control. There was an incident where Kulky was accused of destroying a co-star's costume in a fit of rage, or of being so aggressive he was banned from several famous bars. His short-lived marriage also ended amid rumors of domestic violence and a child in Mexico he never acknowledged, which further tarnished his reputation. He continued working on The Life of Riley, 1953 to 1958, and then Hennessy, 1959 to 1962, maintaining his career thanks to a rare, tough guy charm. On February 12, 1965, Kulky died suddenly from a heart attack while arguing about a script at the age of 53. He left behind a net worth of about $50,000 USD, a modest figure reflecting a life of struggle in a turbulent career and an uncontrolled lifestyle. Donald Curtis as Eddie Gilbert. Donald Curtis was born on February 27, 1915, in Spokane, Washington, and joined Father Knows Best in 1954 at the age of 39 as Eddie Gilbert, a sophisticated, confident character who partly mirrored his own complex, real life. Curtis originally came from academia, then became an actor and a religious preacher, building both an artistic career and a spiritual movement full of controversy. After leaving film sets, Curtis, whose real name was Curtis D. Rudolph, turned to leading spiritual science churches, but was accused of manipulating and exploiting followers' trust to solicit large donations for universal alignment. Rumors said he also ran a failed spiritual retreat in the Mojave Desert, which left many people losing their money, though he was never formally prosecuted. In acting, Curtis had appeared on Broadway in Caribbean Carnival, 1947, and on the television show Detective's Wife, 1950, but his unpredictable temperament, for example, storming out of shoots and calling the director a spiritual infant, made producers wary. Close acquaintances said that although he preached a philosophy of calmness, Curtis was prone to anger and constant contradictions with his own teachings. He died in 1997 at the age of 82, with the cause not publicly disclosed, leaving behind an estate of about $200,000 built from both acting and religious work, along with a legacy that people viewed with both admiration and suspicion. Elinor Donahue as Betty Anderson. Elinor Donahue was born on April 19, 1937, in Tacoma, Washington, and made her small-screen debut in 1954 at the age of 17 as Betty Anderson, the intelligent, graceful eldest daughter in Father Knows Best, an emblem of the ideal American girl of the 1950s. The role brought her fame, but also inadvertently tied Donahue to the good girl image, making her struggle for many years afterward to escape Betty's shadow. In the 1960s, Eleanor tried to redefine herself through roles in The Andy Griffith Show and The Odd Couple, but the pressure of comparisons and audience expectations sometimes made her want to quit acting altogether. Alongside that, her first marriage fell apart when she was still very young, leaving her with deep scars around trust and a sense of loneliness even at the height of fame. Later, Donahue remarried producer Harry Ackerman, had 3 more children, and found a stable home, but she still admitted the fear of failure, never fully let go. During this time, she continued appearing in other television shows like Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and occasionally revisited the Betty persona in nostalgia projects, as a way to both honor and release the burden of the past. In 2025, Elinor Donahue remains healthy at 88 years old, occasionally appearing at fan events for Father Knows Best, beloved for her graceful and professional demeanor. She owns an estimated net worth of about $3 million, representing both her resilience and a lifelong passion for acting that never dimmed. Billy Gray as Bud Anderson. William Thomas Gray was born on January 13, 1938 in Los Angeles and stepped into the role of Bud Anderson, the clever and energetic middle son in Father Knows Best, when he was just 16 years old, becoming the model of the ideal American teenager throughout the show's run from 1954 to 1960. But behind the stage lights, Gray had to struggle with a harsh reality. The filming environment meant he never experienced a normal childhood, with hurried schooling inside makeshift tents and loneliness in the midst of fame. Only 2 years after the show ended, Gray shocked the public when he was arrested for marijuana possession in 1962, and he admitted to having used stimulants since he was 15 years old, meaning even during the filming of Father Knows Best. The case shattered the image of the good Bud, and his film career almost froze, forcing Gray to find a new path. In the 1970s, he immersed himself in high-speed motorcycle racing and began making a name as a racer and inventor, later succeeding with the creation of the F1 guitar pick, a product highly valued by music players. Gray also repeatedly spoke out that Father Knows Best was unrealistic, and that the show had forced him into restrictive expectations, leading to deep resentment toward the entertainment industry of that era. 2 failed marriages further branded him as rebellious, but also helped shape a free-spirited character, breaking away from the perfect teenage boy image. As of 2025, Billy Gray is 87 years old, still living in the house in Topanga, California, that he bought during the Father Knows Best years. He focuses on business, his passion for collecting motorcycles, and cherishes his independence with an estimated net worth of about $2 million USD, symbolizing a journey full of ups and downs, but also resilience. The lives of the Father Knows Best cast members are proof of the stark contrast between the shining glory on screen and the deeply tragic hidden sides of their real stories. Which character did you love most in this series? And how do you feel after learning their true fates? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow along to discover even more fascinating behind-the-scenes secrets.